Hello and welcome to the Road to Nowhere channel. My name is Poppy Rowan, and for those of you who haven't been here before, alongside our co-creator Jordan Tones, we create content which is based around topical issues as well as creating human-centric conversations based around human empathy, connection and much more. If you want to find out a little bit more about what we do yourself, just simply visit us on YouTube at Road to Nowhere, Facebook, Instagram, we're there. We've got plenty of content on there. So the One Sentence Spark series is based on my own training in the QPR Institute for Mental Health Awareness and Suicide Prevention. You don't necessarily have had to see our previous One Sentence Spark videos to watch this video, because this is just a little bit of advice, tips, analogies, metaphors for when you're in that sort of meltdown mode, and we've all been there. We're all going to be there again, it's fine, we've all got this, we're in this together. But these are just some, as I say, tips and advice which has helped me come out of that sort of meltdown mode or has helped me with times of anxiety or stress. So if you did join us for the last One Sentence Spark video, I mentioned some advice on not taking on your friends' anxieties. So it's really important to listen to your friends, of course, and hear their problems and understand them, but not to recognise those as your own anxieties. Because if you're hearing a lot of sort of issues and problems from other people, sometimes your body will start to take them as, should I be scared of that thing? Should I be anxious or stressed about the thing that that person is stressed about? And obviously, if you are a big empath, you will feel that to a certain degree. But this little bit of advice is just about how to sort of separate other people's issues from your own. So analogy, advice, metaphor number one is, I like to call it keeping it above the grass, and it's hard to deal with that separation. So if you think of everything beneath the grass as your fundamentals, so literally taking it back to basics of what you need to survive. Are you warm? Are you healthy? Are you safe? Are you fed? Are you watered? The literal stripping it back to the basics of if you're in that zone of anxiety when literally you just need to sometimes bring yourself back down to earth, think, are those things catered for? And if you're hearing about other people's anxieties or problems, I like to call that keeping it above the grass. So it doesn't affect your roots. Yes, of course you love your family and friends dearly and they're a big part of your life, but if it doesn't affect those fundamentals, your roots, your soil, your earth, your foundations, then just try and keep that above the grass. Like, it's so important to have that separation of other people's problems and your own, especially if you're an empathetic person that likes to take on other people's problems. So analogy, advice, metaphor, I'ma just call them top tips, as cringy as it is, it's too much to say all of that. Top tip number two. In times of stress or worry, or when you've got a lot to do, it's really easy if there's any sort of problems that creep up, or you hear a bit of bad news, or you're so avalanched in work, it's so easy to start pushing things to the back of our mind. And it's easy enough to sweep things under the carpet sometimes to get you through the day. And if that's what you need to do, and then come home and sort of debunk that problem in your head whenever you're at home, then that's fine. But sometimes it's very easy to keep sweeping things under the carpet, and then one day you sort of wake up and everything hits you at once, and everyone's had that feeling of, oh my gosh, my life has fallen to bits, where do I start picking this up? Where do I start helping myself here? And that's fine, we all get there, but I think one of the best bits of advice that I've ever had is let yourself feel the problems as they come. Like, if you start to feel a little bit anxious during the day about a problem that you've got in your head or a worry from work or anything, just let yourself feel it for a second and take it on the chin as much as you can, because the more you start pressing and pushing those worries to the back of your head, the more they're just going to build, and you are going to have that overwhelming feeling of, oh my gosh, where do I go from here? But that's fine if you get to that point, because that leads me on to top tip number three. So one of the best analogies that I've used with my friends that they've said have really worked, they might just be being polite, I don't know, I hope not, is the earphone analogy. So if you've had some earphones land at the bottom of your bag for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then you bring them all out and it's all completely tangled into one big knot, and it's really frustrating because you just want to listen to your music now and you've got all these knots everywhere, and then you start frantically trying to like rip your earphones apart just so you can start listening to the 1975, okay? We've all been there. But nothing gets untangled because you're not looking at each individual knot. You're just sort of scrambling to solve the problem as quickly as you can instead of looking at each individual knot. And then whenever you start to look at each individual knot, you start to separate them, it starts to sort of untangle, and then that gives you the motivation to go on to the next knot because you can start to see some progress. And then all of a sudden you've got a lovely untangled pair of earphones and the world's grand again. Without sort of undermining anyone's problems or anxieties or worries, life is like earphones, okay? If you look at your life and you do wake up one morning and you've got that sort of avalanche of problems or worries all hitting down on you at once, you've ignored your to-do list for a week and you don't know where to begin, don't do what you do with your earphones. Don't try and solve everything at once. You literally need to go through each little part in your mind, whether it helps you to actually separate it in boxes of, okay, this is what's wrong socially, this is what's wrong in my work, this is what's wrong family-wise, whatever your problems are, you need to untie those knots separately. Because if you're scrambling trying to solve everything at once, you're not going to see any progress. Whereas if you start putting those little things in the boxes, your little problems, your little worries, and you start sort of ticking them off almost as you go along like a to-do list, then as soon as one thing is sort of solved or you've done something that you needed to do that day and you tick that off, it's going to give you the motivation to keep ticking off everything in that box. And it's not going to feel like your whole world is crumbling down at one time. You're going to recognise that actually it's probably not as bad as what you were thinking and you can get through this. If it helps to literally write those things down, then do it. Whatever helps for you. Separate them into the little boxes, untie each knot individually. You have got this. So this is a bit of a strange one. Top tip number 4. It really helps me. It might not be for everyone, but as I said, everyone's mindset is completely different and you need to find what works for you. But I went through a real phase of watching Friends whenever I started to feel a bit anxious, or watching any sort of feel-good series or a funny YouTube video. And I would actually, if I got into a sort of anxious phase throughout the day, I would imagine myself as my favourite character. So I would imagine Chandler in that exact situation. He would probably make a joke of it. It takes you out of that anxious little fog cloud that has came over you, because if you've been there before, you know that it's quite hard to think logically sometimes. So if you take yourself out of that whole scenario, imagine one of your favourite characters, or even someone that you idolise in your life, someone who's confident, who wouldn't be anxious or worried about that kind of thing. Imagine what they would do in that scenario that you're feeling anxious about, and it'll bring you back to earth. It'll be like, oh, okay, I'm being silly now. They would literally be laughing about this situation. They would handle it this way. It helps me whenever I get anxious or stressed about something. I'm thinking, this is not forever. No matter how massive a problem seems in your life, no matter how much it takes over your mind every day, your thoughts, it is temporary. It is literally a fraction of your life. And whether it's, I don't want to go into giving examples because everyone's problems are different, but if it is a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a job, school work, uni work, it is temporary and it is nothing in comparison to the rest of your life and the rest of your existence. It is a pinprick in the life of Poppy or whoever. It's a pinprick, and you have got the rest of your life to do whatever you want to do. You're not going to feel like this forever. So they're just some really basic, really quick tips on how to get yourself out of that meltdown mode. If there's any other things that you guys have found have helped you, please do let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you like, please do follow us on social media where you can find some opportunities to get involved in some road to nowhere content yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay kind, stay positive, and have a great day. Bye!